say, kids, what time is it?
Well.
Week 2 in the books.
The whole time I'm watching the games this weekend, I'm going, oh, the freaking NFL, man. Every time you think you got it figured out, right?
It's probably one of the better. I know it's frustrating, but it's one of the best things about the NFL that it just. It's like the stock market. You know, they think someone thinks they have some kind of magic way of. No, it's just, oh my gosh. So many things that I mean, there's also overreactions to the previous week as well that puts that in your head. And no matter how many times I tell myself you can't it doesn't matter, I still think that way. And it's like, what happened?
Well, overreaction or no overreaction, I'll probably overreact to this week based on the fact that I screwed up last week. So, you did good. Let's pop our records up here. You did 11-5.
Yeah, better than last week.
This week I'm 9-7. So you've got a 2-game lead on me now overall. So
it was weird because I was like going through, towards the end of the 1 o'clock games and starting the 4 o'clock games. I'm like, oh my gosh, I won almost every single. It's like, well, and I started dreaming of like the 13 or the 14 win week or whatever, and I'm like, well, didn't do so well in the latter games.
Yeah, well, I did pretty good at 1 o'clock too, and then struggled a lot, especially my primetime picks weren't so good. Yeah. My big games there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It was strange. I got to sit in a sports bar Sunday and watch a whole bunch of the games going on while the Steelers played. And I just kept I was astonished. I was actually thinking it would be awesome to do a stream watching the games live, because you just react to all this shit going down. And
Are you kidding me?
Trying to remember 3 days later is feels like a week. It's only
That's
been a
right.
couple days.
We were thinking of that. We should probably think about picking a couple of playoff games for that at least. At the end of this season, because I know we were thinking about last season. It was things were just going through. Too much was going on, but we should probably plan on, because those are really games to watch.
Totally.
Well, most of them.
Totally. And whatever life throws at us, we'll just deal with. But
yeah,
let's at least put the idea out there, right? We'll float that, and we'll see what reality does bring us. But
I mean, we could do one during the season too. I'm sure there are really good. I mean, well, this past Sunday was a really good game, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or Thanksgiving, we could do something like that. That late night Thanksgiving, that 8 o'clock game on Thanksgiving when everybody's sitting around bored.
Yeah. Actually, that was a point I wanted to make for this weekend last week. Man, those schedule makers, give them a lot of props so far with the primetime games. There hasn't been one bad primetime, including Thursdays, and I mean, this past Monday wasn't that great, but it was still pretty good game.
It was a good game. It got away, but
yeah. But gee, those are good games.
At halftime, you were kind of like, whoa,
Yeah.
All right. Well, while we're there, what's your first talking point of the week? What's one thing you wanted to mention about last week's games?
I was actually looking forward to I thought this would be a really fun game, and it was the Dallas Chargers game. I just thought it would be one where I could just sit back. I don't really have a personal thing with it, but watching Herbert, and now that Prescott is kind of back to his,
Prescott
maybe,
himself.
Yeah, maybe even better than it was before. I don't know. Just thought I would enjoy this, and that was totally on the money. I totally enjoyed that game. It was a little bit not as one of those shootout type games. It was a real NFL game. There was defense as well. There was a lot of stops. There were a lot of key plays. I love those games, and it came down to the last play. Despite the Cowboys wanting to give that away, the one gripe I have is that how how does clock management really get away from some of these coaches who have been around the league for so long? It's like you let like almost 30 seconds go by without calling a timeout, and then the kicker had to wound up with, he bailed him out 56 yards. That was a great kick, but still, they had a lot of chances to like at least 2 or 3 more games to get plays to get closer. But and on the Chargers side, Herbert was great, but it's almost like a flashback to how they were last year, where those were games they should have won, kind of just get away from them. They was like 12 penalties. There was a couple. I think they had at least 2 touchdowns brought back over penalties. 12 penalties total. I wonder if he's going to get frustrated at one point or another. But he made some really nice throws though.
Yeah, except late in the game when he threw that pick in the end zone.
Yeah, okay.
Which hurt him pretty bad. Yeah. But I was impressed with Dallas's defense again. I know the week before the score didn't really indicate, but they played really well against Tampa Bay too, I thought, in spots. Surprisingly.
In spots,
yeah. And I called it. It was the Dallas home game. The crowd was.
That's another good point. I didn't bring that up.
Dallas
it did sound like that. Oh my gosh! I'm like, I forgot that it was in LA, because when the Cowboys did well, it's like the crowd went so loud.
Well, it's like I said, nobody in LA cares about the Chargers, and now the fans from San Diego will not make the trip.
Right. They
won't drive the 2 hours. They're so pissed off that their team got taken away. So I think the Chargers need to relocate again. They should just go back to San Diego. Or Spanos needs to sell the team, and then they should move back. But
I wonder if they were back in San Diego, how that would be, because they finally they're finally on an upward trajectory in terms of the talent. It'd be nice to have a crowd behind that.
But Dallas is one of those teams that travels well, like Pittsburgh too, though. So no matter where they play, they're going to have a good percentage of the fan base in the stadium. So that was a fun one. That was a really good game.
It was good to discover that both these teams actually have defenses too, like you said.
Yep. I'll move on to a slop fest since we're talking about penalties and interceptions and missed opportunities. That Giants-Washington game on Thursday night. How many times the Giants had a chance to win that game? Yeah, Slayton drops the ball in the end zone. I mean, so many chances. The penalties killed him right down to the end, where Washington missed the kick, but the Giants were offside. Re-kick, it's good. Game over. But Heineke looked good, and Heineke. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up because this wasn't going to be one of my talking points, but I really did want to talk about Heineke though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sustainable or not, but now he's got 3 starts under his belt, and he's looked good in all 3. We'll see. I mean, he might be one of these Nick Foles, Ryan Fitzpatrick types, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'd like to see him get a fair shot anyway. See how far he can go. But boy, the Giants, the lack of discipline on that team, especially with special teams. Joe Judge was a special teams coach for Belichick, so he had to be pulling his hair out after that one.
That's the ironic part of it. It's like when a defensive coordinator goes to a head coach and then their defense stinks.
Yeah. Like, who does that remind me of? Never mind. But Daniel Jones looked pretty good. He looked pretty good too. I was impressed with him. And
it still always surprises me when he goes in the open field and he's so fast for a quarterback.
Deceptively fast for a big kid. And Saquon doesn't look like Saquon. He had one awesome run.
One, yeah.
But other than that, he's got a ways to go. I think it's more cerebral than physical.
Waiting for that next injury, maybe.
Trying to avoid hits, I think. He doesn't look explosive in the hole. Like, he looks tentative going into the holes. The one good run he had, he kind of bounced outside and went down the sideline, so he had a lot of open space, and then went out of bounds. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, the Giants definitely are improved, but their schedule does not look good going forward. They're going to be in some trouble, I think. So that was my talking point number one.
And I mean, the last surprise I was going to say was like, wow, the Washington defense is kind of not as effective as I thought they'd be, at least not at this point.
That was shocking.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got next?
So speaking of blowing winds, the Arizona-Minnesota game was quite a barn burner. I mean, the score kind of tells you what I thought was going to be that type of game, but Minnesota is like they just keep shooting themselves. It's almost like this carbon copy of last year, where their first 5 games they kind of just fell on their faces, and I think they did start 0-5. It was at least 0-4. And then never recover for it. And it's like, I thought it would be at least, not that I'm saying that they're really markedly improved, but I thought at least they would do a little bit different this year. That wouldn't start this way. And it's only 0-2, I get it. But even though I didn't give it a second thought I picked Arizona, I thought Minnesota should have won this game. And crazy. Like, this was like I believe this was the one where you had like a 37-yard field goal to win it, and
Scott Norwood did it. Yep.
And then you compare that to the Zerline 56-yarder that won it. It's like 37 yards. No kicker should have seen that.
It's like an extra point, because the extra points are 33, basically. Right? 34 now. And funny about Zerline cost them the game the week before against Tampa Bay. And,
Missed an easy one.
But that's the checks and balances of this league. I mean, one of the things I thought about when I watched the end of that Cardinals-Minnesota game was just how thin the margin of error is in the NFL. Yeah. And you're seeing it. How many 1- and 2-point wins have we seen already in 2 weeks? A lot. Yep. Just a half dozen come to mind already. And we had another one on Sunday night.
A lot of them.
Right. It's just so it's a razor thin line you walk between winner and loser in this league for a lot of teams. I mean, there's going to be some bad teams, don't get me wrong, but I think for the bulk of the teams we're seeing so far, I mean, it's only 2 weeks, are pretty evenly matched. It's comes down to special teams and penalties, it seems like.
Yeah.
Or an injury, or a key injury. But other than, I mean, there's a couple blowouts, but I'm just stunned at the amount of 1- and 2-point margins so far.
Yeah, and that was again another fun game to watch. Kyler Murray did his, almost like acrobatics as he's throwing and running. Dalvin Cook, you finally see him do some stuff for Minnesota, unlike last week. And I admit it, I was impressed with Kirk Cousins. I don't think he lost this game. It's just, I don't know what's going on with Minnesota, and their schedule just gets, I mean, they have Seattle. I'm not saying that they're world beaters, but they're a tough team. And after that, they have Cleveland. So I don't know what's going to happen to them, if they're going to go, so far behind that they're not going to be able to recover again. But, Arizona's probably really happy they escaped. Did everyone in the West win again? I know. No, Seattle blew
lost.
It. Yeah, never mind.
Funny, I'm going to talk about Kyler Murray and quarterbacking and surprise quarterbacks. I'm going to go into surprise. Well, not so much a surprise. It's kind of, I think, what a lot of people expected. Jameis Winston kind of fell off a cliff. He threw a couple picks, could not move the offense really at all down in Carolina, and the shocking Panthers are 2-0.
That I actually had that on my list to talk about, because I was like pleasantly surprised about that team. Yep, 2-0, and you wonder whether they're going to be competing well with Tampa Bay there. I mean, they look good both sides of the ball. I think we talked in the preview show about the only thing we were worried about was whether Darnold was going to hold up for the whole season.
Darnold was picked number 3 overall a few years ago by the Jets.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got a first-round pedigree. You give him Ed McCaffrey, and you give him Moore, and you give him Richie Anderson, who he loved in New York. I mean, that first year in New York, the two of them had something going, and it was working. Sam looked really good that first year. And then typical Jet quarterback killing franchise just destroyed the guy. Where he had no confidence left. He looks confident. He's more than capable, I think, physically. And that offensive system, I think, fits his style of play perfectly. He's more of a pocket passer. He's not very mobile. He's mobile when he has to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's a big, tall, strong guy who can distribute the ball to all those weapons, and the defense is always rock solid down there. Matt Rule's got something good going down there.
Yeah,
they might be a wild card team.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of the New Orleans Saints at all at this point. I have no idea who they are. Maybe an up and down team and based on matchups or whatever, but but I have no idea. But Carolina, good solid defense. I mean, McCaffrey's that type of player that I think there's a couple points in this game where New Orleans was on the verge of kind of like turning the tide, and then McCaffrey comes along and just shuts the door. He's like that player.
No, he is. He's so versatile, and he's almost unstoppable on third down.
Yeah, that's it.
The Saints, Winston's first year as the quarterback, and they've been on the road this whole time.
That's true.
Because of the storm, the hurricane. So, their first game was technically a home game, but they weren't home. So, maybe they're a little road weary. Maybe they just need to get home and sleep in their own beds and regroup a little bit. Because Sean Payton's a really good coach. I think the NFC is kind of weak, so I think in the end they'll be there. They'll be competing for a wild card. I don't know if they'll get in or not, but I think they'll be there. They'll be in they'll be in the conversation.
Yeah, they'll be in the mix until later in the season. Yeah, late in the season. Yeah.
So what do you got next?
Well, I was gonna let myself down, not bring this up, but no, I'm gonna hold the fire to them. But the Miami Dolphins, who I follow, deserve all the crap that they're getting. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Now, I'll preface this by saying that people need to remember that for some reason this Miami team cannot solve Buffalo at all. Remember I think it was the last game of the season when they were actually still up for a playoff spot, everything to win, and then Buffalo had nothing to lose. Buffalo put a 56 points on them. So this is kind of just a continuation of this. So and this one wasn't so bad, except it was a shutout where you didn't see any life from their offense. It's just I don't know what to make of their. We talked about how well they did last year because they were well coached and all three phases of the game were solid, but they always seem to need like a punt return or a punt block, a really good special teams play to do something. I'm really worried about their offense. The Tua injury aside, even if he wasn't injured, I'd still be worried about their offense because it doesn't seem to be clicking. Lethargic. Not even as good as last year.
It's lethargic, and you're right. Yeah. They need defensive scores and special teams points all the time to be able to win. Because a lot of their victories are between 3 and 10 points.
Yep.
And it seems like there's always a defensive score in there or something, or even if the defense doesn't score, they've created 3 or 4 turnovers and given Tua short fields to work with.
Yeah,
so that seems to be the recipe for their formula for winning.
Yeah, I guess I kind of had the feeling that back when we did our previous show that I actually had them coming after New England and Buffalo, so it isn't that surprising. But this kind of game was just kind of didn't seem at home for them.
Yeah,
didn't even show up for anything. I get it that's a big injury to the quarterback, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'm overreacting again.
It's week 2, and some of these games, in the case of the Saints, we'll say, in the case of Green Bay, and a lot of these Pittsburgh, they looked like completely opposite from week 1.
Yeah,
one
exactly.
way or the other. So,
jeez.
So which week is the aberration? That's kind of in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The season will start to take shape, and we'll start to see who these teams really are. So, that said, since you dinged on your team, I'll ding on my team. I thought, I knew the Raiders could easily win the game. But I thought coming off a Monday night win like they did in overtime, having to travel 3 time zones, play an early game, Pittsburgh would have the slight advantage. Nah. No, you think your offense is lethargic? The Steelers are awful. Awful. Big Ben's been hit 15 times in 2 weeks already.
Jeez.
He's hurt. He's got a pec injury, but he's going to play. I don't think he's going to make it past week 4. The offensive line can't block. Najee Harris gets hit unblocked constantly in the backfield.
Yeah, I was going to say the running game is not...
They're just as bad as they were last year, if not worse, because the offensive line are very young. they're learning on the job, and that's fine. I'd rather have a putrid offensive line with young guys learning than a putrid offensive line with a bunch of aging veterans. But that said, the Steelers I was right. They're going to be 7-10 or 8-9. They're not that good. Conversely, the Raiders are shocking me. I thought they'd come in last in the West, and they still might.
Well, in that division.
But so far, through 2 weeks, Carr looks amazing. And you know what I've noticed? That defensive line, too. Boy, they get after the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But what my brother picked up on it watching the game, and I think he's right. They look like a team that is more of a family, the Raiders. They pull for each other. You can tell there's a real camaraderie there, a brotherhood there. And when you have something like that, that can make up for 2 or 3 losses. You can steal a few games just because you have that cohesive, us against the world mentality, a band of brothers kind of thing, right? Where, as my brother pointed out, the Steelers look like a lot of the players are playing for themselves. So, keep an eye on both teams, but I think the Raiders are trending up and the Steelers are trending down for sure.
Well, definitely, I agree on the Raiders. It's like I've been shocked the last 2 weeks of how good their defense has improved. And Carr, in the first half of this game, it kind of looked like, he's doing the same thing he did in the first half of last game. And then in the second half, what happens? He just turns something on at halftime, and he had the bulk of his yards, almost 300 yards in the second half. Wow. It's amazing. I don't know. Both offense and defenses both their offense and defense looks very solid, and that bodes well for them.
Yep.
In the back of my mind, I just wonder. It's like, is this going to be another Raiders team that gets to about week 7 and 8 and finds a way to
start losing,
to go on a downward spiral? That I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to watch. They're definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh's won 2 games since that 11-0 start last year. So.
Yeah.
Definitely on their way down. All right, what do you got next?
Well, that Sunday night game, Baltimore, Kansas City.
Yep, you took one of my last ones. I got one more after this. So.
I know. Wow. After watching that game, I'm like thinking, at the end of the season, this might be one of the top 5 games of the season. What an amazing game. It looked like there were so many moments I thought, okay, Baltimore's done here. Kansas City's just going to just roll on them and just...
Yeah, when they got it to, what was it, like 36-25 or something like that? That's when I said, okay, now it's over, right?
And it's like, wow, I have to be impressed with Baltimore's resilience, especially after losing such a, had to be an emotional game last week against the aforementioned Raiders, which they thought they had in the bag. And the resiliency, and I've never seen such a difference between one team and another in terms of their offense. Kansas City almost exclusively a pass. Their running game's not that good, but their offensive line does block from home. So, and Baltimore almost exclusively run, and it doesn't matter if it's on the ground. Like, usually you see when you have to come back, you have to take to the air. No, they didn't. They were running at will, and Kansas City had no answers to stop them. It's amazing how they could be so different, and then so alike in terms of coming back and winning these type of games.
Explosiveness, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that call at the end. I thought for sure they were going to punt it away, and it was going to be like one of those things. All right, is he going to bring him back? And nope. Went for it on 4th down, put the game away.
Ironically, Mike Tomlin had a similar decision in the Steeler game. It was about 8 minutes to go. Same spot on the field. Down by 9, down by 2 scores, 4th and inches, punts it.
Wow. Down by 9.
Punts it. And that was ball game. The next series, Henry Ruggs got behind him, and that was game. But the Baltimore Ravens are very well coached. I kept watching that game going, this is an extremely well-coached team. The offensive line, that was a total sieve week 1, looked completely different.
That's true. Yeah,
I was watching specifically Al Villanueva, who got beat on every play against the Raiders, looked much better. And Kansas City's got a decent pass rush.
Yeah,
they can get after you. Jackson's matured to the point he threw picks. They threw a pick, pick six into the 50 seconds into the game. Yeah. He's able to shrug it off and keep coming back. I think you and I could run the ball for that team. They're just really, really, really well coached, and a lot of that is Jim Harbaugh. John Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh. Yeah.
As Mike Tomlin likes to say, doesn't live in his fears. He knew, even if he had faith enough in his defense that if they missed that 4th and 1 on his own 39-yard line, wherever it was, he was confident that they could still maybe not stop Mahomes, but they could get the ball back and try again. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what makes it so gutsy, because you know that opposing quarterback can just turn the game right around. And imagine if they don't make that. Wow.
When you have a coach but when you have a coach that shows that much faith in his guys on both sides of the ball, regardless of what happens here, we can still win this game. That really it lifts the team. It lifts those players up when they know their coach trusts them like that. When you have a guy like Tomlin chicken out of a 4th and inches with a running back you just drafted to make those kind of plays, sends a different message. So, the Ravens they're incredibly well coached. And no matter how many guys they lose, they will be a force to be reckoned with the whole time.
Let's not forget, they were hit by the injury bug, almost like San Francisco last year, but not affecting them as bad.
They don't look any different. Even missing 11 guys, they look no different. And that's the mark of good coaching. Really good coaching. My last one I want to bring up, quick one, Cincinnati and Chicago.
Oh.
Archie Andrews is hurt. In goes Justin Fields. And Fields didn't look like he did in the preseason. And this is why, I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, so-and-so looks great in the preseason. Like, here, what's his face? Zach Wilson. Guy's throwing picks all over the place. Was 7 in 2 weeks? Oh, he looks so good in preseason. Well, you know what he's playing against in preseason? The B squad, wannabes, in a high school level playbook. When the rubber hits the road, when the regular season starts, and these coaches bring out their real schemes, and you run your A squad out there, it's a whole different world, and that's what it looked like for Fields. I mean, he was able to successfully get them through the end of the game, but he didn't run all over Cincinnati like he did in the preseason games. He looked awesome in preseason.
Yep.
That said, I don't want Archie Andrews back in there. I think if the Bears want to go anywhere this year, stick with Fields. You got to take the good with the bad with him, but I think he's so talented and so exciting and so much fun to watch. He's the answer. On the other side, really shocked at Cincinnati. I mean, they made a late run at it, but they looked lethargic all day.
Yeah, and like I keep going back to that moment where we're doing the picks, and I don't know, I have no idea, like, logically why I thought that would happen, but for some reason I thought Cincinnati would have that game. I don't know why.
Bengals are much improved, though. They are very much improved. They're an actual competitive football team now.
Yep. As long as that offensive line, keeps Burrow upright, I think they'll keep improving.
Yep. And before we get into our picks here, you got one last one?
Just a general one. Here come the one of the not so good things about the NFL, but it happens every year. The injury bug really hit hard. Tua went down. Wentz from the Colts, they lost also, went down. TJ Watt, right, from your team.
TJ Watt and Tyson Alualu broke his leg.
It seemed like, actually, just going real quick back to that game, I should have mentioned that it seemed like their pass rush just kind of went away after that, after Watt went out. That's a big difference. Landry, Cleveland's
Jarvis Landry, yep.
Jarvis Landry, that's a big blow to them too. I just hope that you lose him, and then you maybe get not Beckham back, and now maybe Mayfield reverts back to starts reverting back to who he was at, with all the mistakes. I hope not. But
Baker's tough. He got his clock clean trying to tackle someone when he threw a pick. And I looked up and saw him.
Another injury.
I saw them picking him up off the field, and his arms hanging. And I said, "Oh no!" And next time I looked up, he was back in there slinging it around. I really like Baker Mayfield. He's awesome. He's got that Russell Wilson, everybody fires people up, and he's a little guy, but he plays with so much heart and so much passion. And he's become a really darn good, accurate quarterback.
Yes, he has, for sure. I just hope that they don't take a step back because he lost one of his receivers. But they have that great running game, so they should be okay. Hopefully he'll come back soon. But that was like another kind of, wasn't a specific game point, but I kind of noticed some significant injuries starting to pile up.
Yeah, and we're only 2 weeks in. And I saw something that was Jarvis Landry's first missed game in his career, or second missed game. Sorry, he's only missed one prior in his whole career. So that guy's tough as nails.
But I did see he went on, I forgot how many weeks is minimum, but he did go on IR though.
I think it's a 3 to 4 week minimum.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, every team's got to deal with them, and we'll see going forward. But with that said, want to get into our week 3 picks?
Yep.
All right. Let's see if I can do this live, because I'm cutting down on my post-production this week because I got to travel. So I'm going to try to switch these in live, and we'll see if I'm successful. Starting with Thursday night, it worked.
Ooh.
The 2-0 Carolina Panthers travel to Houston to take on the surprisingly tough Houston Texans.
They are being surprisingly tough.
I got the logo backwards on that helmet. Whoops.
That's cool though.
Sure.
If
you're watching this at home, just get out a mirror and flip it for one pick.
I'm going to start this week's pick by saying this whole week seems like one of those trap game type ones where I kind of went through most of the games and I'm like, yeah, no problem. But with the NFL, it never works out that way. Like, I didn't have a lot. There were some difficult games, but there weren't a lot of them. So it was like one of those trap games where you play Kansas City and then you have, Detroit, but now you overlook Detroit because you got Baltimore coming up next and you wind up low in that game, type of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if next week I'll be 5-11 or 12.
Well, that happened to us last year. We were doing that all year long. I'd have a week where I'm like, woo, 13-3, and then the next week 5-11.
Yeah. When you think you figured it all out, yeah, right. Okay. That being said, I didn't think that this Thursday's game was going to be a really good game, but obviously we both like Carolina. Carolina is very interesting, so I think I am looking forward to this game, and I'm going to go with them. I know you're saying, I agree, Houston has been a lot better than I thought. I thought they were going to be just a big mess, but they've been a lot better. But I'm not even sure Tyrod Taylor is going to play this game.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, and even with him on there, I was going to pick Carolina anyways because of their tough defense. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm with you. I'm also taking Carolina for the same reason. No Tyrod Taylor. Houston is what they are. I think they're playing on raw emotion right now. They've got that whole everyone's counting us out without Deshaun Watson. We lost J.J. Watt. We've made some horrible trades, and the DeAndre Hopkins, to name them, just one. They've gotten so much bad press in the last few years that I think the people on that team have a chip on their shoulder. Everyone thinks we're a 1-win team, and they're out to prove that they're not. But as the season winds on, I think they're going to find out that they are probably a 3-win team at best, maybe 4. So, I'm also Carolina. So next up, it worked. The Indianapolis Colts, 0-2 Colts. This is Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. Travel to Tennessee to take on, and we didn't even discuss that.
I know. That was another great
comeback
ending.
Kids, the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I didn't want to even make this pick because I'm being pulled towards picking Tennessee, but the imagining the Colts going 0-3 is unfathomable to me. It's they're a good team. I keep telling me that. I keep telling myself they're
supposed to be.
They're supposed to be, and yet I'm still going to stick with Tennessee after that, big win against Seattle last week. and they're going to be home now, and they seem to have found, Henry seems to have found his, legs again. Tannehill making plays again, and their defense, kind of came back and gave them the opportunity to make that comeback last week. So, and the Colts, speaking of injuries, do have some, including Wentz, who I don't know if he's been ruled out, but even if he does play, I believe he's injured in both ankles, so I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. So I'm still going to go in Tennessee, but although I feel bad about it because I do like the Colts, and to go 0-3, ugh.
I really like Frank Reich. I like the Colts. But, man, how many times do I got to come down on Carson Wentz? I mean, even if he's playing well, he's made of sugar glass, and he doesn't last very long. Yeah. This guy, why? Carson, just go get a job in TV and call it a day. You're right. Tennessee at home all day long. Jacob Eason at quarterback, on the road, hostile environment. Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry looked like Derrick Henry again.
Yeah.
He said something like, I'm going to show the world a different kind of 2,000-yard rusher, like as far as his durability because of his his new nutritional and workout routines. And, basically, 2,000-yard rushers like him don't last more than 3 to 5 years. And he's about at that point now. So he's saying he's going to be around a lot longer because of his conditioning. So certainly looked good this week. And boy, Seattle had no answer for him in the second half.
Yeah, that surprised me. That was one of my picks I thought I had in the bag, and wow.
Yeah. So Tennessee at home. Next up, Sunday, 1:00 Eastern on Fox. The Atlanta Falcons, who made a pretty nice attempt on Sunday to beat Tampa, travel to New York to play the mistake-prone Giants. Yeah,
I was shocked to see that game was I think tied 25-25 at maybe late in the third quarter again, Atlanta Tampa Bay. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And then I blinked and it was like 48-25.
Yeah, okay. When the score got to that point, they cut to Tom Brady on the sideline, and he had this look on his face like, all right, enough's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the Giants are going to win a game one of these weeks, and I think it's going to be this week because it's Atlanta, and they have to go to New York. The Giants certainly showed a lot of life in their offense last week against Washington. So I believe they're what are they going to do against the Falcon defense, which is not as good as Washington. So it's got to go with the Giants.
Same, Giants at home. Atlanta's got such a pedestrian defense. I mean, Matt Ryan looked like young Matt Ryan Sunday. Watching him, he's like making these jump throws, and I was like, sidearms, and you haven't seen him play like that in a long time. That said, I just Atlanta's too inconsistent, I think, and especially on the road. No elements yet in New York, but it's still warm here. But yeah, I got to go with the home team. I think the Giants are they got to be like really irritated that they're not at least 1-1. So
right, definitely.
Yeah, I think Joe Judge will have them ready on Sunday with the home crowd. So next up, 1:00 Sunday, the LA Chargers travel to Kansas City. 2 1-1 teams here.
Speaking of being really irritated, I imagine the Chiefs are that a lot after last week's loss. They gave up a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. When do you see that? It's usually them coming from behind. Mahomes, I think it was like this first interception in September. I think they're going to be really hyped up to win this. And plus, this game is a division game. They're home. That makes a big difference especially for the Chiefs. I think the Chargers will definitely make this a good game, a close game. But they're still making too many mistakes, especially with the penalties. So I have to go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think they'll work on their turnover. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbling, trying to close the game out was huge too. So
yeah, that's true.
Chiefs at home, though, it's so hard to play in Arrowhead. And you're right, a young Chargers team that's mistake-prone to begin with that hostile crowd. Fired up Chiefs team's going to correct their mistakes going forward. I I got to go Chiefs at home as well. Next up, we got Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to Pittsburgh. 2 more 1-1 teams.
Yeah, I know. We just said Cincinnati's improving, but if they're going into Pittsburgh, they have to prove to me that they can win. I'm not going to pick them right off, not until they've actually proven that they can beat Pittsburgh, especially in Pittsburgh. Remember last year where they kind of won a couple of games and it was the easier part of their schedule, and then everybody's like kind of jumping on, not jumping on their bandwagon, but seeing how, and then they go into Pittsburgh and what Burrow was like lost in that game.
He got hurt.
Was that the game he got hurt? Yeah. Okay. That was on top of that, and they got blown out. So I'm going to go. I know you've talked about the weaknesses in Pittsburgh, but I'm in this game. I'm picking them.
Yeah, Burrow wasn't lost for the season in the Pittsburgh game, but he did leave hurt.
Oh, okay. Right.
He got cracked by Watt.
Yeah,
I believe it was Watt, or maybe it was
Dupree.
Yeah.
I didn't mean lost for the season. I mean he kind of looked.
I think
lost.
It was like a week or two later is when he got the knee.
Like he looked lost as he's trying to make plays.
Right. He got hurt against Washington, if memory serves. Last year.
Oh, that's right.
Bostic hit him, right? I think. It hit him right in the knee. This could go either way. This really could go either way. I mean, man, the Steelers can't run. They're just as inept on offense as they were down the stretch last year. Very one-dimensional. Roethlisberger hasn't thrown a pass over 10 yards across the middle yet this year.
Jeez.
He'll throw them down the sidelines up for grabs, but he won't zip them across the middle. The Steelers they're a wounded animal, but at home they might figure out a way to beat Cincinnati by a couple points, field goal or squeak one out. So I'll go with the Steelers at home too, but not confident in that one at all. Next up, your favorite team, the Chicago Bears.
My new favorite team.
Travel to Cleveland, 1 o'clock on Fox on Sunday.
Yeah, that'll probably be the last time I pick Chicago. They're going into Cleveland. Cleveland's got that awesome running game. We just talked about Mayfield coming into his own and he's just playing great, minimizing his mistakes. And I have to go with Cleveland. Chicago's offense still has a long way to go. I don't know if they're going to get any better this year, and their defense is taking a step back as well. So, not that I'm saying automatically it's going to be a blowout, but I'm easily taking Cleveland here.
I'm with you. Cleveland at home. Their defense, I think Myles Garrett's going to get after Fields, and the Bears' offensive line isn't very good. So,
yeah.
I think Cleveland at home, they're going to get on a roll here and start to look like the team I think is going to win that division. So far we're the same on all of them. Cleveland at home. Next up.
Like I said, trap week.
What? Yeah. I mean, I'm sketchy on a couple of these. Like
I know. So am I.
Like the Colts, Tennessee. Can the Colts really go in 3?
Yeah, you're right. That's one that I was like,
The Atlanta's capable of hanging 40 points on the Giants. Pittsburgh's capable of losing at home. So some of these can go either way. But the next one, I think, is going to go one way and one way only. Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. The Ravens travel to Detroit.
Even this one, you never know, because Detroit has hung in there for both games. Like they weren't just blown away in either against San Francisco or Green Bay, despite what the score says. I mean, they were hanging in there with Green Bay for at least a half. But I mean, you have to go with Baltimore. I mean, they're going to run all over them. I don't think Detroit can stop that. Goff is still pretty much up and down. He goes through his streaks where he looks like he's gonna greatly improve, and then he starts kind of throwing the ball into the ground, throwing it in interceptions, and I don't know. They're not going to be enough to beat Baltimore.
To me, and it's looked like this since that Super Bowl against New England, and you turn up the heat a little bit on Jared Goff.
That's true.
Falls apart. And Baltimore's going to turn up the heat on him. I mean, even if, like you said, even if they hang in there for a half or 3/4, at some point the Ravens are going to bring it. They're going to bring it to him, and what's he going to do? And you're right. I don't see them stopping forget the running game, and I don't see them stopping Jackson alone on the ground.
Yeah.
The moves. I mean, Detroit's full of a lot of young players, and he's going to do those spins and I think it's going to be ugly. You could see the Ravens close to 300 yards on the ground in this one.
Yeah, you definitely could.
So, yeah, Baltimore on the road. Next up, Saints travel to New England Sunday at 1 o'clock on Fox to play Mac Jones and the Patriots.
Yeah, this one was kind of like I was a little bit going back and forth. I mean, I'm going with the Patriots mostly because they're home, and you said how Winston's kind of like he's kind of streaky too. Like when things are going well, he goes along with it, but when things are bad, then he's really bad. Like he finds the opposing team's hands a lot with those interceptions. And again, like I said before, I'm still not sure, and I know it's a good excuse in terms of not having an actual home for them. I'm still not sure who New Orleans is going to be at this point, whether they're going to be their first week blowing Green Bay out or last week just not even showing up to Carolina. I'm not sure, but Belichick has that team a little bit more stable, so I'm going to go with the Patriots.
I'm taking the Saints on this one.
Okay.
I know it's their third week on the road. I get all that. I kind of think their offensive shutdown, if lack of a better term, last week was an aberration. I mean, Alvin Kamara did nothing. What do you have, 5 yards?
Like 5 yards or
5
something.
yards.
Their total team yardage was 128 for a whole game.
Right. And the thing, and I could be way off on this, but it's been the Saints' history, in recent history, I'd say the last 20 years, especially, when they get outside on natural turf, they aren't very good. But when they play on artificial turf, they seem fine,
true.
Even in the road games, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Both defenses are awesome. So for me, I'm looking at the New Orleans offense against the New England offense. And right now, I got to kind of lean toward New Orleans. I think if they get Kamara going, if Winston can find his targets, most notably Thomas, I think the Saints can outscore New England. New England's offense is not all that good.
No, I know.
They had a lot of takeaways on defense last week in New York. The rookie quarterback thing, of course. But I think the Saints have a little bit more than New England. New England's still kind of on the rebuild, despite having an awesome defense. So I'm going Saints on the road.
Okay.
Next up, this one's tough. This one's tough. Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox. The Arizona Cardinals travel to Jacksonville.
Yeah, you never know because it's the NFL. I mean, anything can happen in the NFL, but I mean, you have to pick the Cardinals at this point after everything you saw from them the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and even last week, where a game I thought they were going to lose just to be that resilient and come back. They have everything. Great offense, great defense. Although that defense wasn't as effective last week, but Minnesota's offense can be pretty good too. But against the Jaguars, I mean, I don't know what Jacksonville's going to do. And forgot who was the defender we talked about in week 1 for Arizona. It was one of our talking.
Oh, Chandler Jones.
Yeah, I'm looking to him to see if he's gonna, how many times he's gonna be in the Jaguars backfield.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see how the Cardinals could blow this one. I mean, there's always the chance, but
yeah, there is. But
they want to be a serious contender this year. They've got to win games like this. These are the games you have to win. There's always that chance that they buy into the hype and they come in underprepared, thinking it's an automatic win and get ambushed. But I think Jacksonville might hang in there for a while, but ultimately, in the end, Arizona. So next up, 1 o'clock Sunday on Fox, the Washington football team travels to Buffalo.
Well, we saw Buffalo come back to being Buffalo last week at the demise of my team. And they're home. I think they're going to bring that momentum they had last week into this week. And, Washington did win, but it was it was kind of like a fortunate win last week. against the Giants. I think the Buffalo defense will do enough to slow down Washington's offense, and I think Josh Allen will put up some big numbers on Washington. I'll go with Buffalo.
Yeah, the Bills owe the Bills Mafia a real home opener, right? Since they choked against the Steelers week 1.
Oh, right, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Buffalo at home. I mean, Washington they're on an up trajectory, but they aren't Buffalo yet. Buffalo is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You got to go Bills at home. Next up, we're into the 4 o'clock games, 4:05 Eastern, CBS. The New York Jets travel to Denver to suffocate at the Mile High.
Right. And I keep saying this like every week. I think the Jets are going to, at some point, improve. And they are. They're going to be an improved team, but they're going to Denver. That Denver defense, I think, it's a much better defense than even New England. And you saw what New England did to the Jets last week. So I think even if the Bronco offense doesn't show up, their defense alone is going to win this game.
I agree. Like I said, I think Zach Wilson has 7 interceptions already. I know he threw 4 against New England. I think he threw 3 in Carolina, right?
Yeah.
At least 2, maybe 3. So, and I think he's got 1 touchdown pass. So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, rough sledding for the Rook. Now he's going to go up into Mile High, take on a 2-0 Denver team with an amazing defense and an explosive offense. I mean, Bridgewater looks good.
Yeah, he does.
So, Denver all the way in that one. Next up, 4:05 on CBS, we have Miami at Vegas.
How many? Didn't we just talk up the Raiders for like? Well, I'm going to go with the Raiders. They're home. Everything's clicking for them right now at this part of the season. Miami's catching them at the absolute worst time. Their defense is playing great. Their offense is explosive. And there's no way I can pick Miami with what I saw last week. And right now, I'm not sure if Tua's going to play, but regardless, I don't think they could keep up with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, this one, though, has all the earmarks of the upset of the week.
Okay.
Because the Dolphins are really well coached, right?
They are. I agree.
The Raiders are capable of laying an egg when you're least expected to do that. Jacoby Brissett is not a horrible backup. He started for a year in Indianapolis and looked very good. In fact, who knows? He could be even more effective than Tua.
More effective at this point, yeah.
I have gone back and forth on this.
Okay.
Because there's always an upset. There's always a game that looks like a sure thing that does not end up a sure thing. In fact, I'm scribbling it out. I'm going with the Dolphins.
Wow.
I think Brian Flores somehow finds a way. And, you know, the Raiders aren't used to this level of success, right?
That's true.
I mean, everything says there's no way Miami's got a shot, and that's usually when the table gets flipped. So I'm gonna put it on the line. I'm gonna say table flipped.
I think this is more like a personal thing where I was just so upset about not showing up last week that if they were playing the Jaguars, I'd probably pick the Jaguars in this game because I'm just so upset about how they played last week.
Heart versus head.
Yeah,
I hear you. Next up, Sunday 4:25 Eastern on Fox. The Seahawks limp into Minnesota.
Yep.
2 underachieving teams.
They are, and that was a bad loss for Seattle. I don't remember ever seeing that bad of a loss for them at home. When they're, what were they up like 35 or 30 to 14 or something?
They got
like that.
manhandled in the second half.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think these two teams are pretty even. I'm going to go with Minnesota because they've lost a couple of heartbreakers. And if they go 0-3, then they're just going to start that slide that they did was last week. This is kind of like their like last point where they can try to recover the season, and I think they will beat Seattle.
Yeah, this is another pick 'em.
Yeah, it is.
I can see Seattle going in there and wumping up on Minnesota. I can also see Minnesota trying to salvage their year and just not having any of it. So usually when it's a pick 'em, I kind of trend toward the home team. I think the Vikings. Dalvin Cook looked awesome last week.
Yep.
You've got Jefferson. You've got Thielen. I just think Minnesota will probably find a way to pull it out in the end. This could be another one of these 2-point last-minute things. But it looked like Minnesota just did in Arizona last week, right? So,
right.
This time maybe their kicker will hit it. I'm Vikings at home as well. So,
yeah, when you have both Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins playing well, it's like Seattle may stop some of it, but not all of it, I don't think.
And Justin Jefferson has not made his stamp on this season yet.
That's true.
I mean, going into the season, he was like a fantasy number one. A lot of people thought he might lead the league in receiving, and he really hasn't done much yet. So this might be his breakout game at home. With their season, you're right. I mean, 0-3. Granted, you get the extra game this year, so 0-3 is more like an 0-2. Which is you can still kind of find a way to get back, but if they go 0-3 though, now you're in some serious shite. And with their schedule, they could be 1-5 or 1-6 before you know it. So, I think the Vikings will salvage their season at home for a while, temporarily anyway. Next up, 4:25 Eastern on Fox. Tampa Bay travels to Los Angeles to play the Rams. I'm going to be out there. I should probably try to get tickets to this.
Oh, wow. This will be a great game to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tampa Bay will eventually lose the game. So the Rams, I thought they would be probably. I mean, they've been good, but like they're winning these close games. Or actually, this last week was close against the Colts. I didn't think that they would have to struggle that much to win against the Colts, especially after the Wentz injury. But I'm gonna go with them here to beat Tampa Bay. They have such a good defense, and I mean certainly better than the Cowboy defense, who kind of kept their team in it against Tampa Bay. I mean, I know they gave up a lot of points, but that was a close game. And I don't know. Stafford looks really good. I mean, he looks like he's been in that particular system for a couple of years now, even though that's his first year. He looks very comfortable in it. And I don't have a compelling reason other than maybe they're home, but I'm going to go with the Rams.
Okay. I agree with all of that, except I'm going with Tampa. And here's why. I wish this matchup was later in the year.
Right.
I think, Matthew Stafford looks comfortable, but to me, he's leaning on Cooper Kupp. A lot. I don't think he's totally diversified yet. He loves Higbee too, the tight end. But I just have a feeling there's still it's like last year when Tom came into Tampa. The first half of the year, there were some growing pains. There were some adjustments. There were mistakes made. There were, they're not on the same page all the time. And I was laughing. I'm like, ha, 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 Tom's old and it's over. And then in the second half, the guy looks, he looks better than he did 15 years ago. So I think the Rams are still coming together. They're not there yet. 5 weeks from now, if they were playing this game, I'd probably go with the Rams at home. I just think Tampa Bay, they're just like, they remind me of the 2007 Patriots right now. I mean, every time Brady turns around, there's somebody there. He's got wide receivers all over the place. He's got awesome tight ends. He's got great running backs. He can just give the ball to whoever. There's playmakers everywhere. Their defense is insane. It's scary. The Tampa Bay might lose only 1, maybe 2 games or none this year.
Yeah.
So early on, I looked at this and said, okay, the Rams. Before the season started, I was like, okay, there's a loss for Tampa Bay, the Rams. But now that we're here in week 3, I have a feeling that it's going to be one of those, Brady got the ball back with 90 seconds left. Oh, there's a shock, they win. So I'm going to give Tampa Bay the edge on the road. Call me crazy.
No, I don't think so. I went back and forth on this, so.
All right, we got 2 left. They're primetime games, starting with Sunday night, 8:20 on NBC. And by the way, can Al Michaels live forever?
Jeez, yeah.
I love his play calls. Like, Sunday night is not... I mean, Al Michaels is just so
he's good.
So good. Green Bay travels to San Francisco, and we get to hear Al call the game.
And he makes up for I was just having a random thought that he makes up for some of Collinsworth's
boobery.
Yeah, like I noticed this last Sunday. He must have said it at 5 times, and that is going to turn out to be the biggest play of the game. Like 5 different times. Like, how many biggest play of the games can you have?
Yeah,
he does that a lot. It's like, no, it's only one.
Anyways. A lot of times they're playing to the audience to try to keep them there.
I know. And they've been lucky. They've been pretty good games. I'm going to go with the 49ers here. They've been playing pretty good, both offense and defense. And I remember Rodgers having a hard time, at least in recent years, having a difficult time going over to the West, specifically San Francisco. I know he played much better last week against Detroit, but it was a Monday night. Now they got to go to San Francisco, and the 49er defense, it's tough. So I'm going to go with them.
Yeah.
I know, going back and forth.
Well, for 7 quarters, Green Bay has not impressed me at all. So, I gotta think that at some point here, the bill comes due. I can't figure the Packers out. And, although last year, I mean, I kind of had the idea last year that Rodgers he's got a great rapport with Adams, and he's got a great rapport with Aaron Jones. But beyond that, he seems to struggle with the tight end maybe. But I don't know. There's something wrong with the Packers right now. I don't care what they did to Detroit. There's something wrong with them. Do you agree with that, or?
Oh, definitely. Oh, for sure. I mean, they seem to be just like making, what was so simple and easy for them. It seems like a struggle to make these type of plays. That was like their bread and butter. So easily makeable last year. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're pushing and pulling at the same time. I don't know.
That's a great way to put it. There's something's not right. And Rodgers, again, I saw his press conference again. I was watching him talking. I'm like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, is he on something? There's something's not right. He just doesn't look excited. He's just...
yeah, there's that too.
He looks gaunt.
Not enthusiastic.
He just doesn't physically look healthy to me. I don't know. There's something weird going on with that dude. So that was a really long way to say 49ers at home. Sorry to ramble. Last but not least.
We're trying to make the show longer, yeah.
Right. Last but not least, Monday Night Football on ESPN, 8:15. The Eagles travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think both these teams have been, somewhat impressive in so far in both their games, wins or losses. And my instinct is, I was going against my instinct is to not trust the Cowboys, but because every time they try to get me to jump on that, they kind of like shoot themselves in the foot. But they're home, and I'm gonna go with them, but not very confident at all. Not sure how their defense is going to react to that type of offense that the Eagles have with Hurts, bouncing around and running all over the place. It's almost like the Arizona offense with Kyler Murray. Not obviously they're not there yet, but not sure how that defense will handle it. But I'm still going to go with the Cowboys.
I'm also going to go Cowboys at home. I admittedly have not watched enough of the Eagles this year yet.
Yeah.
Week 1 they played the Falcons. I saw highlights and that was about it. And it was a blowout, and I was kind of like, nah. And last week the 49ers, So this will give me a chance to actually look at the Eagles on Monday night. But I got to go with Dallas. Dallas right now looks remarkably improved on defense. They're actually playing some defense, and their offense is a buzzsaw. They got Elliott going last week. What's his name? 20.
Pollard.
Tony
Pollard.
Guy's a rocket. He's a rocket.
Yeah.
They look really good. And if they stay healthy, CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, and I don't see how they could possibly lose at home. So yeah, I'm going Dallas.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is whether the past 2 weeks Dallas defense was like a smoke and mirrors thing that just barely worked, and now it's just going to shatter or something. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. I don't know. Still going with the Cowboys.
Well, we'll see. So far, they've played 2 pocket passers, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And what's his name? San Francisco there.
Herbert. Yeah.
No, not Herbert.
I mean, the Eagles. You're saying?
No. Yeah, Dallas. They played Tampa Bay week 1, and they played
the Chargers.
Oh, right, the Chargers. Herbert.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking 49ers.
Yeah, he's still a pocket passer too.
Yeah, for the most part. Now they're going to play a guy like Hurts who can run RPOs and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be this will be a nice test to see what Dallas can do against a mobile quarterback like that. But all right, well, I think we got three of them different this week, so that'll be
okay.
Woo, gonna get a little separation going here.
It's exciting.
So again, audience, we want to know what you think. You can put your picks in the comments below, or you can get us right above us here. It says at GeekTimeNet on the social media. And we'd love to know what you guys think. And if you'd like to come on and pick with us,
yeah, that'd be great.
Let us know, and we can have you on for the picks.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. So I guess that's it for me. Is that it for you?
Yep. Oh. So far, it's just like your NFL season that just keeps pulling, just typical NFL season keeps pulling the rug out from under you. So I'm looking forward to some more surprises.
Get ready. Pull that rug. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And we will catch you guys next week for our Week 3 recap and Week 4 picks. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up below. Also, please subscribe to GeekTime TV. It really helps us grow the channel. And make sure you hit that bell icon in order to receive notifications every time we drop new content here. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at GeekTimeNet. Thanks again for watching. We will see you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?